What a beautiful day, night, evening. We're all blessed. I want to say hello to my good friend, Dr. Sofer, cardiologist, heart specialist for many, many years. We have a lot of great stuff to share with you guys, and I will tell you that this chat room will get loaded tonight. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing great, Doc. How are you doing?
I love your background. You look nice and refreshed. I'm sure that we're going to really touch on a lot of great topics out there, but we will give it a few minutes as more people definitely be coming into this chat room. A few things I want to go ahead and stress to our audience is that we will get live people up on the platform with us. I'd like to ask Dr. Sofer any questions or make any comments to those who've had COVID, those who've had other conditions in your families, friends, loved ones, sicknesses, or even deaths. In our past programs, we've had people come that are in the ICU, COVID patients on oxygen, and we will be playing back something that's going to be very heart touching, but you are going to see the real stuff what goes on in the hospitals. Dr. Sofer spends lots of times in the hospitals, and obviously here's a man that is one-on-one with sick people and has seen many people unfortunately pass on. Dr. Sofer, briefly, anything you just want a quick little intro that just to our audience here?
Well, I wanted to, thank you for having me on as usual. It's always a pleasure talking to you and your incredible, passionate audience. So with that, it is a really difficult time, particularly in South Florida. We're seeing a tremendous amount of the Delta virus. A lot of people know, experiencing it firsthand in a lot of ways, winning and sometimes, unfortunately, losing. Where we're getting a better handle on it, but it's not over for us in any way, shape, or form. So I hope I can inspire some people in ways that they can avoid some of the things we've not been able to avoid.
And by the way, when we are going to go ahead and invite some people up on the platform with us in just a little bit, as we are touching a lot of people throughout the world, and you can go ahead, guys. Just want to say hello out there to Sydney, Australia, uh, Trinidad, New York City. A lot of people out there. We're going to be seeing a lot of people from all over the world who are very interested and will be interested on this particular program today because of the fact that unfortunately this stuff is real. It's throughout the world. And there's one thing I want to say, Doc, that I really think is so important. In all respect, please respect others. Other people, maybe anti-vaccine, which is okay. We're not here at all, Doc, to put words in or to put changes in people's lives because what our job here right now is to just educate. That's what we want to do. And people, you may have your own opinions right now, but maybe after the program today, you may just say, you know what, my mind has changed. Is it really worth it? So I think there's a lot of people out there that's really going to gain a lot of great information out there. And first, Doc, I want to just say one thing that the hospitals are loaded out there. Your hospitals are loaded out there. This Delta is really so contagious. Maybe you can kind of give a quick little analogy, maybe something like the old chicken pox or something like that. This is something that is really moving quick, quick, quick. And I can tell you from experience, people I've been around, institutions I've been around, and one day, boom, 15 people. I mean, that's how fast it's moving.
Yeah, it's moving very quick in the non-hospitalized folks. So there's a tremendous amount of young kids getting it. I have young kids, teenagers and the like, and it's been pretty rampant through them. More so before, particularly the ones that are preteens that didn't have the chance of having any kind of a vaccine. Now they're not in the hospitals for the large part. There's a very limited few of those that get to the hospital. They do, but it's limited. But we are seeing a full ICU. So we've seen our ICU locally in Miami fill up. And right now it seems to be, at least in the area that we're in the North Miami area, it seems to be easing up just a bit. So there are some open ICU beds, some open ventilators. So hopefully, I'm very hopeful that we're maybe past a particular peak. This Delta virus seems to come in and come out a little faster than some of the other waves that we've seen. So the hope is that we're starting to see some daylight, but in the end, it's been pretty bad.
I think what I like to do, Doc, you can just see all the people that are listening worldwide right now. I'm trying to put them up here so just to let the people know this is not just something in the United States. This is something that's happening all over the place. And I'm sure we're already almost approaching 1,000 people in our chat room this early. So we're going to have a lot of people. But I really think what I like to do, I want to start out on a different note. I was planning to do this a little bit later, but I think this will really open up a lot of hearts. I really think that what I'm about to show you is going to really, it's going to hit home for a lot of people. So what I like to do right now, let me see if I can do this real quick. We're going to share a file, by the way. Here is a few people who have COVID. And obviously, we're going to be talking to the person in the bottom left. Okay, so just stay put with us just for a couple minutes. I want everyone to see this. And blessings to everyone out there. I hope that you and your family are well, but just don't go nowhere. How long you been in the hospital now for?
For like over 10 days already.
10 days.
Yes.
They have you laying face down to get more oxygen to make it breathe easier for you, correct?
Yes. They say to lay on my side or lay on my stomach. I normally don't lay on my stomach. I usually lay on my side, but I'm doing whatever I need to do so that way I can be able to breathe better.
And just for the people out there, what are they doing for you pertaining
So
to getting well?
they're giving me steroids.
Prednisone, correct?
Yes, they give me steroids. They're giving me uh, blood thinners. Blood thinners. They alternate it on the side of my body so that I don't get clots.
Yeah.
They've been giving me vitamin D, C,
Good.
A, zinc,
Good.
all these different kinds. I'm real diabetic, so they've been controlling my sugar as well. They've been doing everything diligent so that way I can take my medication.
And how long to this day have you been positive? You've been there 10 days. How long prior were you positive that you know of on his
So
birthday?
I was positive on my birthday, which was August 11th. So from then, I was trying to fight it at home, but I think what I did wrong was I kept laying down on my back, and it made it worse. And then my O2, with my oxygen levels, I couldn't control them anymore. So my wife brought me to the hospital, and
Good.
I've been here for over 10 days trying to fight this.
And what are your O2 levels right now? You 90s what?
Right now I'm in 93, 92.
Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Stay strong. You'll get through it.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah, that's unfortunately, we're seeing way too much of that. What's great about that is that we really have begun to adapt to the prone position. That ability to put people sort of on their stomach, and it looked like it was really benefiting him. Thank God,
Yeah.
as he was able to complete a lot of his sentences. Probably a bit easier. There's a reason that you probably know that works, where if you lay on the back, the issue both regarding the sort of the way the lungs expand as well as the secretions that come out are both advantaged by being in that position. So if you can do it, there are some people that can't do it, but if you can do it, it's been helpful once your saturations start to go like that. But that's tough. And the good thing is he's been in there for a while and he's not intubated. So
Good,
we
which
know
is good,
once you get intubated, it's a really bad sign. Doesn't mean there's no recovery, but it's a bad sign. So thankfully, he will do okay. Hopefully. So that's touching.
because of the fact that this particular condition is something that's lingering on, not only like taste and smell, but sometimes, as you know, Doc, this could affect the cardiovascular system, could affect the heart, the kidneys, it could affect the nervous system. This is something that it's a reality like any other virus can. A virus is a pathogen that's infecting us and causing problems with us. But you see, notice that he said he had diabetes. So I just want to briefly just talk about these underlying conditions.
Yeah.
That this is why it's so important to take care of ourselves, because you never know what can hit you tomorrow or a week down the line.
Well, this is why whenever you ask me to come on, I jump on, because I know you do such a great job in discussing preventive measures. In this poor gentleman's perspective, he had diabetes, which is for the large part a preventable condition in most people. So, if you can learn from some of your ways that you have listed in your incredible catalog of discussions in terms of being able to make your insulin work better. Insulin resistance is the problem, right? So your insulin just becomes pooped out. And then when it poops out, it's a hormone. And those hormones set off a cascade of problems that make it hard to fight infection. Not to mention he didn't appear to be obese, but the obesity that can sometimes come with it. And between those two things, having lungs that have to fill a difficult to expand chest, the more body mass, the inability to have excretions, throwing into that the insulin resistance and the diabetic complications that make it more difficult to fight any infection, like you said.
Now, why is it, this is right up your alley, why is it that it is quite common that people are experiencing these blood clots? Because you told me right off the bat he's on blood thinners. And I noticed being in one position, potentially, obviously, without moving, things like being on a plane without pumping your calves. Now, Dr. Sofer is what I call not only a great cardiologist and a great physician, but he teaches people national-wise, worldwide, about veins when it comes to veins, varicose veins. You know more about veins, but this is up your alley. This is all about, arteries and veins, where the blood goes out and the venous circulation comes back. It's just a constant circular rotation that continues to happen in the body. But these blood clots are coming from veins, deep veins.
Yeah. So the blood clots, you're absolutely right, Alan. It's the blood clots that at the very beginning we saw that this was that the COVID manifestations were a circulatory disease. This is really as much of a vascular disease as it is a respiratory disease. And what we think is happening is the immune response that's happening to fight the infection causes this balance that we have in keeping our blood flow nice and oiled up and lubed up and moving freely to form little areas of clots, as you mentioned. And that usually happens in the veins, and those can often travel to the lung. It's the dreaded DVT, pulmonary embolus cascade, that ability of getting the lung clots.
Or even if it gets to the heart attack, a stroke, it could be anything.
Yes, so yeah, exactly. So the heart has, not only does the heart have a clot problem, but we're seeing in the heart a separate problem where the immune reaction that's supposed to be killing the virus makes a mistake and actually attacks the heart. So we're seeing that in young kids and we're seeing that in adults, called myocarditis or pericarditis. And unfortunately, it can also happen in a very small amount with the vaccine. So there is a study out of Israel saying that it's very rare, 1 in about 6,000, if I'm correct. So a rare capacity. So we have to watch out for that. And really the good thing about when it attacks the heart, it seems to be a little less deadly, and it seems to go away much, much more frequently than what you're seeing with this gentleman when things come into the lungs and you get the respiratory part. It's the respiratory part of this that's actually really getting people uncomfortable onto the ventilators, but it's the blood clot that's causing these other issues.
Now, would you agree, Doc? Someone gets a virus, if it's coronavirus or some other strain of a virus, it affects the lungs particularly. Isn't it good that the person gets up periodically and gets around and moves around rather than lies in bed? Isn't that? I mean, where's the fine line there? Because they're always saying be upright, do more, try to use it or you lose it. How does that work with the lungs?
So there's two things with that. It's a great point. The two things. One is that as you expand your chest, right? As you expand your lungs, whether you're using exercise like I've seen you show people how to do, better posture, you aerate the lungs. You get more air into those tiny little alveoli, tiny little sacs that make up the lungs, and you expand them. So that's very important to get the posture. Now, in terms of walking around, that prevents those blood clots. And because the calves are like these little hearts that are in your legs that pump. And if they're not pumping, the blood sits there and it'll clot even without COVID. So you have to be, you take a long plane flight, you need to walk a bunch. You're sitting at a desk, you need to move your calves. But certainly if you're sick from COVID and you're stuck on a couch, you need to keep those calves flexing or wear compression socks. If you're sitting in place, I got them on right now. I'll show you if I can. I got some compression socks on that you wear kind of, they're a special type of sock. Usually wear it to your calf. And if I'm going to be with you for some time here, I'm not going to move my calf. I'd like to have the compression sock working. They're like an ice cream cone, but they're tighter at the bottom and looser at the top, and they keep the blood flowing up and keep it from clotting, particularly if you're sick at home from COVID, or maybe you're not feeling good after, the first day of the vaccine, which is usually the most that you're not feeling good. Those are good things to have.
All right, Doc, we're going to head over for another insert I want to put in here. This is a fellow who worked at a prison, and talking briefly about it, he gives some good advice. And then from there, we'll have some comments. I will invite people to come up on the platform with us. Let's go ahead and listen to this right now, just for a couple of quick minutes.
At a prison. I've been working there for 19 years.
What
we
state
had a
are you
COVID.
in?
Huh?
What state are you in, James? What
I'm
state?
sorry, Kentucky. I guess you can kind of tell by my accent.
I wasn't sure where. Go ahead.
And we had our first outbreak in March, and that's whenever I caught it. We had over 200 inmates, more like maybe 280, 290. 5 of them went to the hospital. 5 of them died. Staff got sick. It's a total mess. When it hits hospitals, nursing homes, prisons, any place that's in tight like that, it's just going to spread. But since the vaccine has come out, and I haven't took the vaccine personally, and it's not that I'm against it. It's just I use quercetin, I use bromelain, I use NAC, I use glutathione. I use a lot of things that I've seen you talk about and things that I've read. And plus, I try to eat somewhat of a healthy diet. But anyways, the second round has hit the prison. After the vaccines, no hospitalizations. Staff is down to a minimum. If that don't speak for the vaccine, I don't know what does. For people who are skeptic, and that's understandable. We listen to the government talk, and you should always believe half always what you hear. They say. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can say from experience for everybody watching, and God bless y'all, we're all putting up a fight. COVID doesn't care if you're white, black, red, thin, tall. It just don't matter.
There's no discrimination, my friend.
There's not. So we're all in this together. It's time, we get back to being humane with one another. Humanity is, I think, the test we're going through.
Doc, that guy was great, man. He's the kind of guy I'd want on my program all night long. This guy, straight out honest. Didn't take the vaccine, fine. But the reality is I want people to see what's happening out there. This is why we're here. In all respect, if you don't want to take the vaccine, that's okay. That's going to take us to our next subject, Doc. I think it's the responsibility of each and every person in this world to take the responsibility not to infect other people. And the purpose of masks, let me say it one other step. I listened to another physician the other day, Doc, and he talked about that the COVID vaccine is not about not getting COVID. You're still going to catch COVID. It doesn't keep you from catching COVID. It's not going to allow you to die in most cases. You're not going to be on a ventilator. Your body's going to be able to fight it off easier. That's what the vaccine. So people think that, hey, they're taking the vaccine, they're still getting COVID. That's not what it's about. You still can catch COVID. You still can pass it on. You may be asymptomatic, okay? But people really need to understand what it's about. And that's as far as I'm going to go in there, because I don't really want to go any further because I don't want people digging down my throat. But I think where you can dig down my throat is about protecting other people. And the purpose of masks is not to say that if you wear a mask, you're not going to catch the virus. But if the other person wears the mask and you have your mask on, they're not putting aerosol saliva into the air that you're going to inhale. That's what it's about, Doc. Correct?
100% correct. And I think everything you said is spot on. And I love how people are more and more making not only the right decisions for social distancing, so 6 feet apart and wearing a mask when trying to avoid some of the bigger gatherings and whatnot, and getting tested, and the vaccines. But on top of all that, I can give you my personal experience. I had COVID early. I also had a vaccine when available, and now everybody's talking about boosters, and how do we deal with that? We're doing that with some of the immunocompromised people in the United States. So soon it may open up even farther. So I think that all we can do is listen to and read as much as we can. Guys like you that are giving everybody's perspective, and it all comes down to a risk-benefit ratio, right? So I mentioned before that some people, there's some people that have some problems with the vaccine, but they're much smaller than the people that are having the problems with COVID, like the gentleman was saying in the prison, So I'm not saying that there aren't problems with the vaccine. There's a minute amount of people, but the overwhelming majority have a lot more problems with COVID. So being able to kind of figure out your own risk-benefit ratio while you do what you can do. And the one thing you can do, one thing I've been doing more of lately, and a lot of the people around me, especially health professionals, is listening to guys like you that have really been pushing all the prevention mechanisms, whether they're better exercise, better posture, better food choices, trying to reverse the blood pressure by the weight loss, all of these things that you have a library and a group out there that's been listening to it. That's what we can do. The rest of it is moving. It's a moving target. We have to listen to professionals, I guess, like myself and some others that are, trying to sift through the big studies and sift through the data and tell everybody. But it changes. It changes a lot, and we've for that reason we've lost some people become skeptical, and I understand that. But what we can do, and what's not changed, is all of your healthful, preventive diet, exercise perspective that you've been showing people how to do now for years. Well, I like to really finish with optimism, right? So I think that we not only are going to get through this, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing less and less people showing up after having one of the worst areas in the world right now. We're seeing that because people are masking and social distancing, and if they choose not to be vaccinated, staying away from potential infectious, keeping themselves healthier. So if they, God forbid, get this infection or another infection, they can fight it off better. So watching their weight and exercise, a little bit of common sense, and all have a little bit of luck, I think we'll all get through this very soon.
Well, I believe we are right on track, and I think the key thing is that just have a lot of present time consciousness. Know where you're at, particularly even your children, what they're doing, where they're at, because obviously, would you agree that the majority of these people who are catching them are from their own children, coming home from their own families? And that's an issue because, we're all gated up on the outside, but we come home, we get sick on the inside in our own house. Now, that's unfortunate. We are not here to tell you should be taking the COVID vaccine or not taking it, but we are here to tell you that you still have to you got to be smart and do the right thing.